we were just having a wee chat about the rig tensions again during the break, and there was some fairly basic things that I think that might be worth mentioning. So we were talking about, Stuart was saying I always get the same trusted people who touch the rig, and there's other people who are never allowed to touch the rig. So it's about having kind of known settings. So if you say how many turns you're going to put on, is that half turns of the spanner, or is that complete turns? And then you were saying that every time you finish sailing, put it back to base settings again,
We
so they always know where they are.
always put the masts back to our base setting at the end of every
You're not
day.
leaving it under tension all the time.
It's not so much under tension, it's just so you go back to that base point, because you can quite quickly lose the place. If you come down the following morning, you're scratching your head saying, did I put it back to base or not? If you just always do it, then you don't have that conversation. And then, you know, if you did or you didn't the night before, and then you start tampering with it, you then lose your settings.
So just kind of the normal loosening off of everything that.
Yeah, when I came in, I was trying straighter masts in the light weather, but I didn't find that too successful. So I was putting in more pre-bend, more and more pre-bend. So I'm still going for the same, pretty much base pre-bend, but in lighter conditions, but just having it a little bit looser. So it's the same shape, but looser, more further forward, if you like. So the forestay then is a little bit saggier, which makes it easier for me. And I'm not such a good sailor, I can't keep it. I can't keep it in that groove for long enough. So when you've got non-perfect conditions, i.e. sailing, I find it hard to keep it in that fast groove. So with things a little bit looser, I can, you know, if I go a bit mad, or I'm looking, or I'm drinking my coffee or whatever, then it's still, the boat will carry on for a little bit. It's just a question of styles. The other sailors that I look around with will have sort of things a little bit tighter, and that works for them. But I think there is different settings depending on how practiced you are.
But that makes sense, because in light winds you don't want the mast absolutely straight, because your sail would become too full at the front. So when in those conditions it was pretty light, you know, so people sitting down to leeward, and so a slightly bent mast with lower tension and slightly looser forestay makes sense for the conditions.
And don't pinch. That was the big learn that we've had. It's very difficult to pinch the 707 in light conditions until maybe once you're up at 10 knots, you can do all your bad habits come back. It's great.
What were your main your jib halyard then? What sort of setting did you have on that? Because I guess that's worth sharing with everybody.
So there's no, you know, it gets these sort of Hooers drawers effect. Just tighten it up until that stops, and no more.
I've never heard it called that.
The internet will now.
Just tighten that up until it just disappears and no more, or have it, or if it's on a bit, just relax, and also just relax about it as well. That was the big learn, is if something's not quite right, sometimes it's better just to keep ploughing on with it. Not quite right, because keep your concentration, and if you bring somebody off the rail and jiggle everything around for that tiny thing, it might not be worth it in light weather, because moving off the rail in light weather disturbs the keel, disturbs the whole flow of the boat. So it's got to be worth losing that. You know, if the thing that you're going to be getting has to be that much faster to get that back again, if you're going to take her off whatever drive you're on, whatever patch you're on. But obviously if you can't get to that patch, you're going to have to change it. So you're going to have to suffer that change to coming.
It all boils down to the driver's style nearly as well, because again, sailing with all these different guys, I've noticed, you know, Stuart and John, he sailed very differently. Titch, I've never seen anyone feather as much in the wind. You know, he really likes to, you know, point as high as possible and keep that, where I think I said with John one time, he foots off a little bit for speed.
He does,
Yeah, and again, Andy,
too lazy to pull them each year.
but Andy's a bit in between. He wouldn't feather as much, but he'll keep the boat probably going a bit faster. You know, so I think it very much depends on the style of the driver.
There is a point when you're pointing too high and you're slowing down too much. You see it quite a lot. That there can be, you know, you can have the boat pointing away from the wind, but if she's up to speed, the keel kind of takes off a bit, so you're getting the right kind of stuff going on under the keel, which helps lift the boat up. We've been pointing lower than people, but actually tracking upwind of them, because they're pointing up into the wind a little bit more, but moving sideways more.
I think it depends what you're doing relative to between your helm and your main sheet man, if you've got a separate main sheet man. So I don't tend to bother, I just use the main sheet myself. So that's what I kind of do in the dinghy, and it's the same sort of thing. It's quite tiring, so sometimes you sort of, you think, I could do with a man to do this for me, but
Not your wife?
obviously